Thank you all for coming today. Really appreciate it. It's a very exciting announcement that we have today. Sylvia, why don't you come back here? You're part of this team. You've been doing a lot of work on this. We're here as a culmination of a lot of effort by a lot of the folks that are standing next to me. And I have a very exciting announcement that we're going to issue a request for proposal for the arena tomorrow. This proposal is going to be unique in nature in that we're going to seek feedback from the industry and get that feedback, but it's not going to discontinue the RFP process. So we'll have it out on the street and we'll get that feedback and we'll be able to seek out the best firms out there in the country. Now, this is a very complex and very unique project. It's going to be a once-in-a-generation kind of project for this community. It's the largest project that the city will undertake. It is a type of project that really will focus on our quality of place. And when we look at drawing more people to this city, when we look at drawing more jobs, like the mayor and the council have been very focused on, the mayor has led that process through seeking new companies, and he has heard loud and clear from them that El Paso is a wonderful community. And so if we can add other pieces to that, I think it would make it even that more enticing for businesses to come here. As I said, this is going to be a very dynamic, very complex project. So we want to meet that challenge by ensuring that we have a complex process with regard to the procurement of who we assign this project in the end. This company or this organization, that whoever is selected, will not only construct the facility, but they will be in charge of a business plan. They will also need to work on revenue opportunities, as well as naming rights, and also the design of the facility. Most importantly, it also has to look at who is going to be housed in the arena. So they will also be working simultaneously on seeking long-term tenants for this particular facility. So things like D-League basketball, perhaps, indoor soccer, arena football, concerts, those kinds of events that we'll need to seek out and make sure that we have those long-term leases in place. The deadline for receiving these bids, these proposals rather, will be December 9th. We're, again, very excited about this process. We want to make sure that we're as open as we can, because it's a very, very interesting project and something that the community is very much involved in and wants to know what's going on with it. I think the media wants to know what's going on with it. That's the reason we chose to do a press conference, to make sure that we had all the information out there to the public and let them know the type of things we were doing. That timeline to my right, your left, demonstrates all the work that's been done up to this point. Back in the fall of 2014, we did receive a report from HKS. At that particular time, it did not take into account the operations and maintenance of the facility. I think that was very important to this mayor and this council, and so we worked on that process as well, and then we brought that back in January. January 2015, the council authorized us to go look at properties and select 2 or 3 properties or the areas that we might build this facility on. So that work was done. We brought that back to council in May. They then authorized us to go seek a law firm to then work on the selection of the property, the acquisition of the property. And so now we are engaged in our next step, which is the request for proposal that will go out tomorrow, that will look at all those moving parts, because I think we need to do all of these different things all at the same time. So with that, I'll turn it over to the mayor. Again, thank you for coming, and we'll answer any questions at the end.
Well, thank you, and I'm glad to see that everyone's here, because this has become a team project. But one of the things that's important, that the voters voted on it back in 2012, as you see in the timeline, and as council and myself, our job is to make sure that we would bring a project forward that we've done everything possible to make sure that we control the taxes. So, and I know Mr. Gonzalez and I have had a lot of conversations when we talk about how we're going to bring the project forward and how can we make sure that this project is affordable. And you know, we talk about how the projects are going to be brought on a timely basis. You know, the quality of life bond was extended over 10, 12 years. But it's important which ones do you bring forward, when do you bring them forward, and when are they less impactful to the taxpayer. And that's one of the things we're working on today and will continue to work on. And as Mr. Gonzalez was talking about, you know, the greatest compliment to anybody is, I was at AUSA, I was in Washington last night, and we had a reception for El Paso, and El Paso had a reception, and a lot of the generals and colonels and command sergeant majors that had been stationed here in El Paso, they came and they said, you know, it was the biggest crowd we've ever had. Well, I had an opportunity to speak there when I spoke, and I told them, I said, the biggest compliment that anyone can pay a city is when it's time to retire, time to make this your home and for your family to be, is to come back to El Paso. And just about everyone talking that I talked to yesterday was they want to come to El Paso. They want, Mr. Robinson, you're a perfect example of you were in the military, and El Paso is such a great community, and it was incredible to see. They said this was the biggest turnout we've had. Well, we're starting to have so many great things for our community, the quality of life, quality of place, quality of life for our citizens, and it's important when you go talk to the DOD, the Department of Defense, they control what's at Fort Bliss in the area. We have to control the quality of life, and this is another aspect that we're talking about. When we're talking about bringing companies to El Paso, they talk about their team members, and it's not team members that are coming to El Paso. They're actually citizens of the city of El Paso that become part of their teams. What do you have to offer? What will keep them, what will continue to keep them in El Paso? And this is another perfect example of the voters of El Paso invested $473 million in themselves, and that's very impressive when we go talk to companies, and this is one of the projects that are going to make a huge difference in our community. You know, when we talk about airlines, what airlines are looking for, and that's investment within the community. So this really opens up a lot of avenues for El Paso, but it also shows that the citizens of El Paso were committed, and it's our job as elected officials to make sure we roll it out properly and in a timely manner. So I'm excited that we're at this point. I know a lot of times people were talking about, what are you doing, what's going on with the major projects. A lot of the things are, you know, we've been working really hard because we want to make sure that we bring them out quickly. Someone said, what can we do to expedite them? And one of the companies we hired, they said, there's nothing you can do. Let us do our job. Let us work with it. Let us bring it forward so it becomes very impactful and the best job possible that you could ever do. And that's what we're doing today. So I'm very excited to be part of this announcement as we continue to move forward and share some of the things that are going on with our community. So I thank you for your leadership. I know it's a little warm because I know you're not sweating over what I'm saying. No. So it's a little warm in here. We might want to open the door. And Mr. Cormel, nice to see you, sir. Thank you.
I would like to ask Cindy Davison to come up with representing the chamber.
We're very excited about this, especially the aspect of our local community being able to respond to the RFP and step up and see if we can find someone local, because we know we do. I think the opportunities here for our small minority women and veteran-owned community is unbelievable. And we have got the best entrepreneurs in the market who we know can build all of this and step back and applaud and be happy that they had a part in it. So this is a very exciting announcement. We've been waiting for this for a while. Of course, we will be watching to make sure that all of it is done as much as possible as local in helping get our small businesses ready to be able to support that. Thank you to the mayor and council and Tommy for your leadership. We know that this has been a lot of sweat equity to get to this point, so each and every one of you certainly understands what small minority women and veteran-owned businesses go through on a day-to-day basis. We know that sometimes your job is not easy, sometimes it's not fun, sometimes it's quite challenging. We recognize that, and from the El Paso Hispanic Chamber and our board, we thank you for your leadership and your direction. Somebody has to do it. We're glad you guys are doing it. We're doing our fair share on the other end, trying to get our business committee ready to respond to those RFPs. But thank you.
Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you for coming. The mayor and I will answer any questions you might have.
You had mentioned narrowing down locations. Can we discuss those?
Well, those are confidential. I mean, we want to keep the cost down for the taxpayer. So at this particular time, we can tell you we've narrowed it down to 2 or 3 sites, and those are things we've reported in the past, and we've got nothing else further at this time. But what I do want to add is that instead of just going out and securing properties, what I meant by not doing this in a linear fashion and sequentially, I mean, I think if you did it that way, it would take forever to do. So that's the reason why we're sending out this RFP, so that we can move on all those different aspects of the project that include tenants, include design of the project, include a business plan, and also securing revenues. I think the mayor, I think, has a business approach, and because that's his background, I think he's made some very good points with respect to that, and we've been addressing that it's important to show that this facility can pay for itself because it's a newer facility. It's got the state-of-the-art types of items in it that those kind of facilities have, and it has more of an opportunity to be successful. Obviously, as it gets older, you have to maintain it, and those are the other things we're looking at. So we want to make sure that people hear that we're looking at the full scope and spectrum of the project.
You know, one of the things, and it's really important when you talk about location, is, and these companies we've hired have really brought a different perspective, and it's something that's very important, that when we look at where we're going to put any certain item, that, you know, if we put it over here, will it be able to take care of itself? If we put it over here, what do you put to the left, to the right, behind, and front, where we're all maintain and take care of themselves, and it all becomes economically beneficial to the community. So that's one of the things we're looking at, and not just say, okay, this may be the least expensive to build a thing by itself, but can it sustain itself? And I think Mr. Gonzalez kind of talked about that. So we're looking at, we don't want to roll out one item here, one item there, one item there, and then they can't sustain it themselves. What do we do for the future, and how do we make sure that we roll out a program and a plan that's going to be beneficial to the whole community? So it's really exciting to see some of the things that have been brought forward from some of these companies we've been talking to as we look at expanding the community.
Any other questions?
Those 2 or 3 sites you mentioned, how specific are those areas? Are those really broad general areas, or are those specific sites you identified?
Yes, no, and maybe.
That's a great answer. That's a great answer. They're all in the downtown area is all I can tell you. Any other questions?
Well, thank you. And
Thank you for coming.